Hi friends! Guess who's making another video? It's me. Odin is clearly there for quality control. It is evening, which means I've moved on from coffee and onto juice. Sure. It's actually coffee bourbon cider from down east, and it's delicious. And I highly recommend it. I wanted to talk about something that started with a personal experience that was maybe not my finest hour, and then move on to kind of why it seems to be so rampant in especially writing communities and creative communities. Let's talk about, I got heated. I got mad, y'all. Let's talk about feeling snubbed, because that shit sucks. Yeah, maybe not my finest moment. Happened about a week ago. And the reason I say it wasn't my finest moment is I felt like I was being petty. But after conversing with several people, I've maybe come to the conclusion I wasn't being petty so much as I was being hurt. And legitimately, it was okay for me to feel hurt. But at the time, I felt like I was being a little ridiculous. So I think I mentioned in my last video, Twitter is a hellscape. And I don't go on it much, to be honest. And when I do go on it, I feel like I back away slowly. Like I've just entered a room I really shouldn't have been in. I'm just gonna go see what's happening out there. And then I don't go back. But I was on Twitter, and I had a friend, I'm not gonna say any names because that's not necessary, but I had a friend, a social acquaintance, who is also a writer, and I saw that they had posted multiple, not just one, but like multiple overly like flowery, oh my god, thank you, to all of these different people who, I guess the reason it really got under my skin was because I had conversations with this person about, like, the people she was talking about, we all kind of used to run in the same sort of circles. I don't know why I'm doing this hand motion, but our Venn diagrams overlapped a little. And I had personal conversations with her about these people. And not anything terribly negative, but just, maybe she wasn't as big of a fan of their work. And then I see on a public platform, people, she was giving them like really flowery compliments and like being really, really like, oh my god, thank you so much for the support. And I felt an immediate like hot, just like directly through my stomach, being like, what the just getting like really mad. And at first I thought I was being petty, and then I had to deconstruct that feeling, which can take a while. And I realized the reason I was feeling upset, it was a multi-layered thing. So like a 7-layer dip, we're just going to go on through the layers. But the initial reaction was like, but you have said to me specifically something that's almost the opposite of what you're saying publicly. So that's one. So the disingenuous part got to me. And then two, the second part was that I felt like I had been giving of myself on multiple different occasions to this person. And not once had anything like what she did for these other people come back to me at all. And at first I was like, well, okay. You can't, I'm very much a believer that happiness is not pie. The more that other people are happy does not detract from the fact that you too can stay happy. Like, other people's happiness does not steal yours. It doesn't go away the more that people have. It's not pie. So I was feeling a little like, God, Lauren, you're being such a jerk about that. I'm trying really hard not to curse too much. Which if you know me, that's a chore. But I felt like I was being a jerk. I felt like I was being that person who is like, I don't like that they're talking, being all happy and, cheery for other people. But like, I felt like I was a bridge troll. And then I was venting to a friend, and my friend was like, well, but that does suck, and you were snubbed. Like, you also wrote things. You've also, been there for this person. You've put in the legwork, and this person is not giving any of the legwork back. Like, they're not, and not to say that this kind of thing has to be a tit-for-tat situation. I'll get into that in a second, because I feel like tit-for-tat relationships end up being really toxic and awful. But in this particular case, we run in the same circles. It almost would have made sense, this is according to my friend, it would have made sense for this person to also kind of be like, hey, by the way, this went over here too. And instead it felt very cliquish and very, we're the cool kids table. Again, that was my bridge troll moment, petty bridge troll moment, where I felt like it was a clique, and like I suddenly wasn't invited to sit at the cool kids table. And I had to process that, because that's just what you have to do. So I had to process that. And then I realized, oh, no, I'm not having a bridge. I mean, I felt like I was having a bridge troll moment, but I wasn't actually being a bridge troll. And here's why. Because this happens all the time. It happens all the time. So when I was talking to people about it, they were like, oh yeah, this has happened to me in my creative circles. This has happened to me at work. This has happened to me in friendships, where you are doing the legwork. You are putting in all the effort, all of it, and you get nothing. Like, no, not even like or a sup girl, or anything. Like, you don't get anything back. And that really sucks. It sucks on a human level. It sucks on a writer level. It sucks on just a career level. Like, you're trying to operate in a particular career and you're just not getting any sort of recognition for the hard work that you put in. Now, I'm going to probably be keeping this more towards like the writing circles, because I don't want to make broad generalizations about every career path. But in writing and creative paths, first, we're very delicate creatures. We are. Our egos are very fragile. Like, there's a reason that there's the stereotype. But it's more about how I think the whole writer's ego thing, I think, has gotten a little blown out of proportion, because people don't realize that we put our heart and soul into these projects, you guys. We work so hard. We write tirelessly. Like, I know people who come home from 16-hour days and write to keep their project alive. Like, we do everything in our power to make this good. We put it out there. It's our baby. It's like, birthing a child and then immediately sending it to college. That's how it feels. There's no raising it. Like, you don't get to raise it. You birth it, and then you immediately send it off to college. And you have to hope for the best. You're like, okay, bye. Mommy loves you. Don't get arrested. That's how it feels. It's a scary process. It's sometimes a bloody process. It's brutal. It kills us. So we put our heart and soul into this project, right? You don't put your heart and soul into something and then stick it on a shelf. You put your heart and soul into something and you want people to appreciate it. You want there to be some sort of recognition or understanding that, hey, you worked really hard on that and you deserve, I'm not saying an award, like, you don't deserve, well, I'm speaking about myself, but I'm not saying that I immediately should have gotten any sort of prize, but recognition that you did something that's really, really hard, and that, hey, it isn't a complete steaming crap pile. all we're looking for. You know what I mean? And when you have people who you think are friends, but who maybe made a glaring misstep, who completely disregard the fact that you've done the same hard-ass stuff that they did. Like, this is not easy work. So if one writer recognizes that it's not easy work and is doling out compliments to people, and it's almost like it's like, you know, you get a compliment, you don't, bye, and then like just keep giving them to other people, it feels really awful. And it starts to make you doubt, like, I mean, look, I know my stuff is not everybody's cup of tea. I know that there's going to be plenty of people out there who don't want to read my stuff, and that's totally fine. I don't expect everybody to want to read my stuff. You know, my books are not necessarily going to be on Oprah's bestseller list. You know, like, it's not, I'm not going to get the Oprah sticker, like, and that's fine. But I think, you know, I think they're okay. So far, the response has been really great. You know, for me, I feel like, okay, I put my heart and soul into something and it didn't suck. That deserves some form of recognition from people in my circle, from people, not just, you know, friends who have been my friends for years, but people who also know how difficult this work is. It's nice when somebody else kind of goes, hey, you know, I know what you did, and I think you did a really great job. Or just a simple, like, hey, by the way, she's a cool chick, and you should check her out, you know, whatever. Any sort of public acknowledgement that you know of this person, you like this person, you happen to think that their work doesn't suck. It's just a nice thing to do. I've done it for plenty of people, and I will continue to do it for plenty of people. It is a really uncomfortable feeling, though, when you, especially on like a public social media platform, like, it's not a particularly nice feeling to go, you know, just be scrolling through like, oh, kitten, you know, cute kitten pictures and pictures of people's grandkids, and oh, guess I just didn't make the cut then. So that's one aspect of it, where it's the ego. It hits your ego. It hits you and you're like, well, fine. But then there's also the many layers underneath that. Again, I mentioned that it's like a 7-layer dip, so there's like so many different layers to it. So there's the feeling that you maybe weren't good enough for that person. There's that cliquish feeling like you didn't get invited to sit at the cool kids table, which I think every writer has. Like, every creative person has that moment where they kind of feel like they're not cool enough and they're not good enough. And when they see other people who are in their circles kind of getting together and they're not really either being invited in or allowed in or whatever, it starts to feel like you're on the outside. And it goes back to that fragile writer ego where, you know, we want people to like our stuff. We birthed the child and then it got sent to college. And we're just really hoping we don't get that panicked phone call from the dean, you know what I mean? So we're hoping that it does okay. It almost feels like it's one of those, the least that you could do is help somebody out and kind of give them encouragement. And at least, and especially now in today's era where almost everything is public, like, you can't help it. Like, go outside and it's public. Everything's public. What you ate for lunch, where you sleep, what what your favorite show is. Everything gets found out eventually. It's all public. And on public platforms where you're specifically making something public, like specifically calling people out in a public way, and then you're clearly ignoring other people, it didn't feel good and it doesn't look good. And I'm not judging necessarily, because I feel like this was more my own like understanding of the situation, my own yeah, again, my ego moment. But the parts under that are that there's the more human element. I'm not gonna let my computer update while I'm doing this. There's the more human element that, especially empathetic people, I find that creative people tend to be empathetic, and empathetic people have a tendency to give, and not really call out anybody who's not giving back. We tend to put up with a lot of crap, and we tend to put up with a lot of people expecting us, just like that's the baseline, is that we're expected to give. Like that's just it. Like it's almost like people just think that we're some bottomless well of energy and love. And we just, like, we're robots. Like, oh, you need more? Sure, just go ahead, take it all. Until we're completely bone dry skeletons. We have nothing. And in my particular case, the reason I got so heated was I was so like, where is my 30 seconds of, hey, good on you, kid, when I have done so much for the other person? And I realized that that's a very, like, human relationship thing. It's not just a writer thing. It's just a human thing. When you're in a relationship, whether it's with a friend or a significant other, and you are giving, and you get nothing back, you really have to stop and evaluate and decide, is this something that is worth my time? Because if you are expected to be the sole giver, and they're not even remotely thinking that they should give back, one, doesn't really say much about them, does it? And then two, that's not a healthy position for you to be in, because one, you're gonna just get drained. And then also, you are being set up to have these expectations. People are going to expect this from you, no matter what. And I mean, it happens. Like, I've given the boot to some, friendships that I really thought were good friendships. And then you start to tally it up and you go, oh, wait. And it sucks. It does. It's not fun. It's not a fun position to be in. But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to value yourself above the expectations of others. I think you as a human being deserve more than to be somebody's constant emotional well. You deserve more. And if you're creative, if you're a writer or any sort of artist, you have to use a lot of emotional energy anyway, because you're creating something. Creating is hard work, like I have said. And it takes a lot of energy. It drains you. You have to tap into certain parts of your own soul that you didn't even really fully register were there. And then you have to pull them up to the surface, cut them up, put them on paper or whatever, and then kind of refeed yourself through that. That's a really hard, it's really difficult, draining, but also very life-affirming process that we don't rebound very quickly from that. So if you're in a friendship or relationship, or even a workplace relationship, where you are constantly giving and there's no reciprocation, there's no balance, how are you expected to be able to perform as a creator? You can't. Like, you're just going to end up feeling drained all the time, and you're not going to have anything left for yourself or for your projects. So there's that. And when you get underneath that, even, there's also this, like, again, another layer. There's this other layer to it of you almost have to come to an understanding that not everybody is going to be there for you. And you almost have to build your own support system. You have to learn how to do that. And then you have to kind of really become comfortable with the idea that a lot of people are not going to be what you need. And you're going to either have to find it in other people or call it quits with the people who aren't what you need, or you have to say, okay, well, my criteria for friendship and or relationship is different, and adjust it. And the reason I say that is because somebody had made a comment on one of my Instagram posts, and they were like, oh, we've been friends for a while now, and I haven't bought your book. And I was like, oh, honey, if buying my book was a prerequisite for being my friend, I have like 4 friends. Not really, that's an exaggeration, but you don't have to monetarily support someone. It's nice. It's really nice if you can. But if you are friends with a creative person, an artist, I'm just going to use the blanket term artist. If you are friends with an artist, helping them by monetarily supporting their work is A+. Like, you get a gold star. Good job, friend. If you can't, which that's totally understandable, at least let people know. I'm also laughing because I can see him stretching. He's going to steal the show again. At least, like, be vocal about it. Like, if you can't buy somebody's book, if you can't buy somebody's art, if you can't go to somebody's concert, tell people about it. Like, let other people know. Like, hey, by the way, my friend, who happens to be a really cool person, does this thing, and I think it's awesome, and I think other people should know about it. Especially in today's, again, social media world, it takes like 1 click, 2, sometimes, 3 max. 3 clicks, and that's it. And it's just like done, done, done. And you are sharing this person's work all across your friends list. That doesn't take much effort. That doesn't even take much brain power. I could probably do that in my sleep. In fact, I might have done that in my sleep. And it at least lets your friend know that while you might not be able to monetarily support them, you still support them in their endeavor to be a creative, to be a writer, to be an artist, to follow their passion. There are so many people out there who get perverse joy in telling the big dreamers that they shouldn't be following their dream. They get perverse joy in telling people to stay in their lane, to stay in their box, to not follow what their heart is telling them to follow. It's the simplest action to just send the word out about somebody that you care about and say, I really like them. I haven't read their work, but seeing as I like them as a person and they're not completely inept and or crazy, it's probably going to be good stuff. So go ahead, check them out. That doesn't take much effort, but it means the world to somebody like me, and it means the world to countless people who are just like me, who are indie artists of any kind, who are looking to have their voice heard. And I think if you're a good friend, you're going to find a way to do that. That might be a little harsh to say, but I think if you are truly supporting your friend, you're going to find a way to get their stuff out there. Now, there's plenty of contingencies to that. But I mean, to me, it doesn't take much effort. And that way, nobody feels snubbed. We're going full circle. Nobody has to feel snubbed. Gonna have more of my coffee bourbon cider. Just to calm down a little. It's like mommy juice, except I'm not a mother, so it's just Lauren juice. Hey, at least there's coffee in it, so it's still technically me. But if you were a creator, you do have to get comfortable with the idea that not everybody who loves you or says that they love you is going to do that, is going to support your work, love your work. I mean, yes, I have friends and family who have not read any of what I've written, and that's okay. You know, one of my best friends probably has read 5 pages of my work, and that's okay. We're not going to stop being friends, but she is very, very open and very supportive in other ways. Now, this is not me going on a crusade saying that you have to, hit retweet every 10 seconds. Like that's a little ridiculous. But if you like your friend who happens to create a thing, find a way to help them get seen. Just, be a good friend. Help your friend out. Now, going back to the tit for tat thing, I don't believe in doing things for somebody simply because they did something for you. Because that creates inauthentic relationships, and it ends up becoming a tally list, and like everybody just feels like, oh well, so and so said this about me, so I should go onto their website and say this about them, and then they're gonna do this for me, and then and it's just an endless ping pong game, and it's not fun anymore, and it's basically purgatory, and nobody wants to stay. So I feel like if you truly believe in someone, if you do genuinely like somebody, like if you've read their book and you really liked it, go leave a review. Like, it takes maybe like 10 minutes out of your day, but go leave a review. Go give it whatever stars you want. If you like somebody's band, it doesn't take much to, if you're friends with a musician and their band has stuff on YouTube, go like a video, go like a song, go comment on something, because it doesn't take much effort on your part. But do it authentically. Don't do it just because you feel like, oh, I have to, they're my friend. Do it because you like their stuff. But also, you don't want to make your friend feel like... It's like finding this balance of like, I'm doing this because I genuinely like your stuff, and also because I don't want you to hate me. And it's like, yeah, there's gonna be people out there who are constantly like, well, if you really loved me, you would da-da-da. No, don't play that game. But if you really care about your friend who made something that they care about, logic would dictate that you would try to help them get that thing out into the world, help them find an audience, and it doesn't take much effort, and you also look kind of nice doing it. So if you can't do it just based on the, oh, this is a good thing to do it because you're also gonna look like a good person. So do it for your own ego as much as you're doing it for your friend's ego. Anyway, got really heated. I got upset. And I just wanted people to know that it's hard. It's really hard being an artist, and especially in a world where it takes so much effort to be seen. It's really hard to put yourself out there and to, basically beg people to like your stuff. It's a hard gig, and it's not fun when you feel like you've been snubbed, or when you feel like, you've given so much to somebody professionally and they haven't responded or reciprocated in any way. That sucks. But that doesn't mean you should stop doing what you're doing. And it doesn't mean that you should suddenly be like, well, I'm not going to help anybody out now. Don't be a Scrooge. There's no need to be a Scrooge. But it's okay to feel hurt. It took me about 4 days of like processing to go, oh, right. I had a right to be upset because I was doing the things that I wanted other people, like I was leading by example, basically. And it was like I was leading by example to a classroom filled with people who were asleep. So nobody was paying attention, like nobody was doing, that's fine, whatever. I'm not saying that to mean that I'm the shining example of how you should be, but what I was doing, I thought, you know, was at least worthy of some sort of, hey, I'll help you out too. And that just didn't happen, and it made me upset. And it's okay. It's okay to be upset. It's okay to be hurt. And it's okay to want support from the people that you love. You might have to reevaluate your relationships, and you might have to reevaluate how you view certain people, and lower your expectations. But I feel like if you're already in a position with people or with a specific person that you are going to be, that you've already like given a whole lot, it's perfectly understandable to be like, well, damn it, I want something back now. Because friendship is a two-way street. And you deserve to feel loved and supported in your work. So, you're not alone. You know, this is a difficult business. It is not for the faint of heart. And there are some days where it's going to feel like you didn't get invited to the cool kids table. And for those days, we have this. Pinky out because we're fancy. Show them how fancy you are. Should probably stop drinking on camera. It's probably bad. But anyway, if you felt snubbed by other people in your creative circles, one, I'm sorry, because that sucks. It happened to me. So, empathy. But also, you'll find people who are openly supportive of you, and you'll find people who genuinely care about your work, and you're going to find an audience. I'm telling everybody else as much as I am myself. Because it's also a scary feeling of like, what if I never find an audience? Like, what if nobody likes my stuff? We're not going to go down that rabbit hole right now, but that's part of the underlying issue with why it hurts so much to not get talked about, is because you're like, what if I'm not worth talking about? Again, that's not really on you. That's on other people. And if you feel like you've put in a ton of effort with somebody and they haven't given you any, you have my blessing to tell them, boy, bye, and to get on. Either put up or shut up. You know, you deserve it. So, anyway, I will stop rambling now. Clearly, Odin says bye. He says goodnight. He's like, y'all stop talking. I'm trying to take a nap. I just made him into an old man. Anyway, I hope, however you're feeling right now, if you do happen to feel like you're not being heard, or that you have had a similar situation happen to you, I hope you feel better now, or I hope that it gets better soon. And hopefully the next video won't be as, I don't know, controversial? It's not really controversial. Won't be as grumbly. Alright, love you all. Bye!